You ever see someone so put together, so untouchable, that you'd swear nothing could shake them? That was Margaret Hensley, the kind of woman who owned half of Chicago's skyline, who could buy a private island on a whim and not blink. But one night, in this fancy Lincoln Park restaurant called Lumiere, her whole world cracked open over a cheap little necklace, a tarnished silver pendant with a starburst design, dangling from the neck of a waitress named Clara. It was just another Tuesday, the kind of day Margaret picked to avoid the ghosts of birthdays or anniversaries. She was 80, sharp as ever, silver hair pinned up like a crown, eyes like a winter lake, sitting across from her son, Nathan, the CEO of Hensley Enterprises. Nathan's rattling on about stock prices, mergers, some billion-dollar deal to buy out a drone startup, same old noise she'd tuned out years ago. The place was all crystal chandeliers and linen tablecloths, the kind of spot where a salad costs more than most folks' groceries. Margaret's sipping her wine, half listening, when Clara walks up to refill their water. She's young, maybe 25, her apron slightly frayed, ponytail a little messy, moving like she's been on her feet for 12 hours straight. Nothing special, just another face in the crowd until Margaret spots that necklace. A starburst, with a tiny emerald chip at the center. Her breath catches, her glass trembles, and suddenly she's not in Lumiere anymore. She's 19 again, in a cramped artist's loft in Wicker Park, smelling paint and turpentine, wrapped in the arms of a boy named Daniel Harper. See, that necklace wasn't just jewelry. Margaret designed it herself, back when she was a girl from a stiff, old-money family who thought love was a contract. Daniel was a painter, broke as hell, with dreams bigger than his bank account. He took her sketch, melted down his dad's old watch chain, and carved that starburst by hand. The emerald? He traded a portrait for it, said it matched her eyes when she laughed. They were reckless, in love, and then pregnant. Her parents flipped. A baby with a nobody artist? Unthinkable. They shipped her off to a retreat in Wisconsin, paid Daniel to vanish, and gave her daughter up before Margaret could even name her. All she had time to do was tuck that necklace into the baby's blanket, whispering a promise she'd find her someday. She named her Rose. 50 years later, that necklace is staring her in the face, and Margaret's unraveling. "Where'd you get that?" She chokes out, tears streaking her face, right there in the middle of Lumiere. Nathan's mortified, hissing, "Mom, you're making a scene." Clara, poor thing, freezes, clutching the pendant like it's her lifeline. "It was my mom's," she mumbles, backing away as the whole restaurant gawks. Nathan tries to smooth it over, shoving a wad of hundreds at Clara like she's a problem to be solved. "For your trouble," he sneers. Clara flinches, says no, and bolts to the kitchen. Margaret's shaking, her mind racing. It's her necklace. She knows every scratch, every curve. It can't be a coincidence. Nathan thinks it's a scam. "She's playing you, Mom," he says later, in his sleek office overlooking Lake Michigan. Some waitress sniffing out a payday. He's all sharp suits and sharper cynicism, raised on money and power, nothing like his dad, who at least had a heart. Margaret's not listening. She hires a PI, a guy named Victor, to dig into Clara's life. Meanwhile, Nathan's not waiting around. He's got his own team pulling strings, digging up Clara's debts, her mom's medical bills, her crummy apartment in Pilsen. He sees leverage, not a person. 2 days later, he corners Clara outside her second job, a dive diner called the Rusty Spoon. $100,000, he says, sliding an envelope across the leather seat of his Bentley. "Sign an NDA, hand over the necklace, quit Lumiere, and stay away from my mom." Clara's exhausted, her shoes soaked from the rain, but she pushes the envelope back. "It's not for sale," she says, voice shaking but firm. "It's all I have of my mom." Nathan laughs, cold as ice. "Everything's for sale, sweetheart. Keep playing hardball, and I'll make sure your landlord gets creative with your lease." Clara's mom, Ellen, is fading fast. Alzheimer's, bills piling up, moments of clarity slipping away. That necklace is Clara's anchor, the one thing Ellen always touches, whispering, "That's your story, honey." Clara doesn't know what it means, but it's all she's got of a past Ellen barely remembers. Back home, she tells Ellen about the rich lady, the money, the threats. Ellen's eyes flicker, sharp for a moment. "He made it for the girl with green eyes," she murmurs. A star to guide her home. Clara's confused, But then Ellen says, "There's a trick to it, third ray, press hard." Clara fumbles with the necklace, finds a tiny notch, and click it opens. Inside, a faded photo of a young woman, smiling, eyes like hers. And an engraving, for Rose. Find me. Clara's world spins. Margaret Hensley is her grandmother. Ellen is Rose, the daughter Margaret lost. Before she can process it, there's a knock. Margaret's there, alone, no chauffeur, no heirs, just a woman with hope and fear in her eyes. "Clara, may I come in?" she asks, voice soft. Clara nods, and Margaret steps into their tiny apartment, sees Ellen by the window, frail and drifting. "Rose," Margaret whispers, kneeling beside her, tears falling. "I found you." Clara holds up the open necklace, the photo, the words. "She told me." Clara says, voice breaking. "You're her mother." They're crying now, holding each other, the years melting away. Then Nathan barges in, flanked by 2 suits, his voice dripping venom. "Nice act, Clara. How much to sell this sob story?" 200 grand. He's sure she's a con artist, preying on his mom's grief. Clara's terrified, but Margaret stands, all fire and steel. "This is my granddaughter, Nathan. And Ellen is my daughter, Rose. You've bullied a girl who's fought harder than you'll ever know. She said no to your money, protected a memory you can't even fathom. Get out." Nathan sees the necklace, the photo, the truth. His arrogance crumbles, and he leaves, silent, shaken, maybe broken. Margaret turns to Clara, promising the best doctors for Ellen, a home, a future. "Your grandfather made this," she says, touching the starburst. "Daniel, the love of my life. He'd have adored you. In that cramped apartment, they're a family, richer than all of Margaret's billions." But here's the thing, Nathan's still out there, licking his wounds, maybe plotting, maybe changing. What would you do if you were Clara, staring down a fortune but holding on to a piece of your soul? Drop a comment. Tell me, would you take the money or fight for the truth? Share this story with someone who gets what family really means. And hit that subscribe button for more real-life dramas that'll make you feel every damn thing.